Ada adjusted her wig in front of the mirror. It wasn't sitting well, but she didn't have time to fix it. She had already snoozed her alarm twice. There was no prayer this morning, no God take control, just makeup, perfume, and rushing. As she stepped out of her compound in Gbagada, the street was busy as usual. Hawkers shouting, keke zooming past, buses blasting horns like they were fighting. She waved at a small taxi. The man stopped. Where you dey go? He asked. CMS. Enter. Na 500 naira. She entered. That's how the journey began. A journey that was supposed to take 45 minutes. But by the time Ada looked up again, she was the only one left in the car. There were four other people when Ada entered. A woman selling chin-chin with a yellow bowl, a quiet man reading Open Heavens, a secondary school boy with a rough school bag, and a man chewing bitter cola and humming a gospel song. Nobody was talking. It felt normal. But then, after a few turns, the gospel man tapped the driver. Abeg, drop me for barracks. The driver nodded. He never stopped. Driver, barracks na here now, the man shouted again, but the driver didn't even blink, and just like that, the man was gone. Not disappeared though, just no longer in the seat. 1 minute there, the next nothing. Ada looked back. Where the man wey dey here go? The woman selling chin-chin east. Maybe he drop without us knowing. But Ada didn't see any door open, and the car hadn't stopped at all. 10 minutes later, the schoolboy vanished too. This time, Ada saw it. She turned to ask him if he had a biro, but right before her eyes, his skin faded like smoke, his uniform, his bag, everything just dissolved into the air. Her heart started to beat fast. Driver, she shouted. What's happening? He didn't reply. Madam, please, are you see what I'm seeing? She asked the chin-chin seller, but the woman just turned to her with a cold stare, her eyes suddenly pale, white, like boiled egg without yolk. Ada screamed. She reached for the door handle, locked. Driver, stop this car. Stop it. Still no word, no glance, just driving. And the road started to change. She didn't know where they were anymore. Everything became foggy. The buildings outside were melting. The sky turned ash gray. That was when she knew she had entered the wrong taxi. But was this really a taxi or a spiritual vehicle? The windows were fogged. Ada couldn't see anything outside anymore. She began to cry. This must be a dream. Jesus, God, please help me, she whispered. For the first time in years, she began to pray. God, please, I didn't mean to neglect you. I just wanted to catch up with life. I'm sorry. Then the chin-chin woman spoke, but her voice didn't sound like a normal woman's voice anymore. You should have prayed before entering. Her voice was deep, masculine, almost echoing like there was a speaker in her chest. Ada turned to her mouth hung open in fear. Who are you? The woman smiled, her lips splitting wider than normal. I'm the consequence, she ignored. Then she disappeared, just like that. Now, it was just Ada and the silent driver. Ada turned to the front again and shouted, Driver, who are you? Where are you taking me? Still no answer, but this time he turned slightly and Ada finally saw part of his face in the rear view mirror. It was burnt. Half of it looked like charcoal. The eye on that side was hollow. Her scream was so loud, the hair around her vibrated. Then a soft female voice whispered in her ears, Ada, my daughter, I warned you to never step out without prayer. It was her mother's voice. Ada remembered it clearly now. Before she moved to Lagos, her mother said, Lagos is not just a city, Ada, it's a battleground. Don't let perfume and wig make you forget spiritual covering. Even ordinary transport can carry spirit. Always pray before stepping out. But Lagos had swallowed her fast. New clothes, new job, new boyfriend, and no more early morning prayers. Only Instagram, Snapchat, alarm, Uber. Ada began to cry and pray with her whole heart. She began to shout scriptures she hadn't even read in years. The fog got thicker. Then suddenly light broke through it, bright light, warm, powerful. The car slowed down, then stopped. The door unlocked with a click. The driver looked at her for the first time. His mouth didn't move, but she heard his voice clearly inside her head. You were almost claimed, but someone prayed for you this morning. Ada stepped out of the taxi, shaking like paper. And where was she? Right back at her compound gate. Ada stood at her compound gate, breathing fast. Her palms were sweaty. Her legs felt weak. She looked around. It was the same Gbagada street, same yellow bus conductor shouting CMS, CMS, same pure water hawker running past. Everything was normal. But she was not the same. She touched her skin, real. She knelt and touched the ground, real. She was back, but there was something different now. When she looked at people, she started seeing things. The man crossing the road in a fine suit, he had a shadow following him that didn't match his body movement. The woman rushing out of her house with two children, her mouth was smiling, but behind her smile was a spirit of heaviness clinging to her back like wet cloth. Even the Okada man had waved at her. His face flickered for a second. It turned into a greenish skull before returning to normal. Ada staggered back. God, what is this? A calm voice in her spirit answered. Now you see the world as it truly is. She had her neighbor, Mama Ifunaya, praying loudly in her flat. Every evil waiting for me on the road today, scattered by fire. Ada used to laugh at the woman, always shouting like a market preacher, she once said. But now she understood. Ada took her bag and began to walk toward the bus stop. Her phone buzzed. It was her office. Madam, we are expecting you in 20 minutes. The client is waiting. She opened Bolt app to order another ride, but her fingers paused. She saw something strange. All the cars showing on the map were black dots, not regular car icons, and they all had names like Shadow 10, Fog 33, or Hurried. She refreshed the app, same thing. She dropped her phone. No, not again. That's when she knew she wasn't supposed to go to work today. Instead, she dropped her bag, turned around, and went back inside her room. She closed the door, knelt down, and said the prayer she should have said earlier. God, this world is deeper than I thought. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for second chance. I will never rush out again without talking to you first. And for the first time in a long time, Ada prayed, not because of job, not because of money, but because she now understood some vehicles don't carry people, they carry spirits. Ada sat quietly in her room, her back resting on the wall, phone in hand, but she wasn't scrolling Instagram. She wasn't even thinking about work. She was thinking about how many people had entered taxis like that and never came back the same. Just then, her phone rang. It was her friend, Tope. Ada, you didn't come to work? Her voice sounded playful, but Ada could hear something else beneath it, a crack. Tope, can I ask you something strange? Okay. Have you ever entered a taxi and things didn't feel right? Like people disappearing or the driver acting off? There was silence on the line, then a long breath. Ah, so it has started showing you too. Ada sat up. What do you mean? Tope lowered her voice. Last year, I entered one danfo at Yaba, normal looking, and once we passed Sabo, everything outside the window started running backwards. Ada covered her mouth. Tope continued. One girl screamed and vanished. I shouted Jesus and closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was standing in front of my hostel gate, alone. They were both quiet. Tope then said something that made Ada tremble. Since that day, I pray like a mad woman before I leave the house because I realized Lagos is not normal. Later that day, Ada went to the office, not for work, but to share her experience with her colleague, Faith, the quiet girl in HR who always had a small Bible in her drawer. After listening, Faith nodded and whispered, "Every morning before I step out, I pray, Father, separate me from every car of destruction, every trap in human form, and every journey you didn't plan. You are just lucky God still has plans for you." Then she opened her drawer and showed Ada a notebook titled "Strange Things I've Seen in Lagos." Page after page, stories like Ada's, a man who entered a bike and landed in a shrine, a woman who entered a private cab and lost her voice for 3 months, a girl who sat next to a man on a bus and everywhere he touched her skin began to rot within days. Ada's body was cold. I thought it was just me. Faith closed the book. It's never just you. That's why some people don't come back from work the way they left. That night, Ada couldn't sleep. She lay on her bed, lights off, curtains drawn, heart pounding softly in her chest. It wasn't fear anymore, it was awareness. She understood now. The world wasn't just physical. Behind every traffic light, every car, every Okada, every handshake, something invisible was always watching. She sat up and did something she hadn't done since university fellowship days. She knelt down. "God, I'm sorry for being spiritually careless. From now on, I won't move an inch without you." As she prayed, a peace washed over her. It was as if her room had filled with light, though the bulb was off. The wind outside calmed. She slept. Morning came. Ada woke up before her alarm. This time, before brushing, before opening WhatsApp, before dressing, she knelt again. "Father, I commit today into your hands. Go ahead of me. Cancel every unseen trap. Let me enter only the vehicles you assigned." Then she got dressed. As she walked to the junction, she passed her neighbor, Amaka, who was rushing out. "Ah, Ada, this early you don't bath? You dey go work?" Ada smiled. "Yes, but I don't first pray." Amaka laughed. "Abeg leave dat one. Na prayer I wan pay house rent. I dey late already." She flagged a taxi, the same way Ada had done just the day before. Ada paused. The car looked normal, clean, new, but as it moved off, the back tires didn't touch the ground. Ada's eyes widened. She looked around. Nobody else noticed. It looked like a normal car to them, but not to her. That evening, Amaka's husband knocked on Ada's door. "Please, have you seen Amaka? She didn't come back from work." Ada's body froze. She couldn't speak. Her lips trembled. She remembered what the voice in the text had said. "You were almost claimed, but someone prayed for you this morning." In this Lagos, not every car is ordinary, not every road is straight, and not every journey is physical. Before you rush out of the house, before you enter that boat, or jump that keke, or flag that bus, pray, because one careless ride could be your last.